Good afternoon, and welcome to the Safe Streets Coalition meeting. We're glad you chose to join us today by live streaming on City 4. This is the first time we've had a Safe Streets meeting like this, so be patient with us, and as all of us know, we're all adapting to kind of a new normal. My name is Michelle Voth, and I'm Executive Director of Prevention and Recovery Services at Safe Streets. With the challenges for meeting with COVID-19, Safe Streets decided last month that we'd have our meeting via Zoom. We had 27 people attend and had a lively discussion. Because that platform is not exactly as conducive to recognizing our Champions of Character Award, we opted for live streaming for our Safe Streets meeting today. We're at the Law Enforcement Center, and we have a limited number of people here as we are social distancing to be in line with the Shawnee County guidelines and in keeping with our mission of keeping our city safe and city and county safe. Today, I'm honored to recognize Tom Horn and Chase Morstorff as our champion of characters. I'd like to read you a little bit about their actions and why they are so deserving of this recognition. The Kansas Character Recognition Council of Topeka, Shawnee County recognizes Chase Morstorff and Tom Horn as the strength of our nation is dependent on the health and safety of its communities. The strength of our community is dependent upon the character of its citizens. Topeka City of Character and the Safe Streets Coalition of Topeka, Shawnee County recognizes Chase Morstorff, our Champions of Character for May. On February 23rd, 2020, David Brooks was approaching the home of his sister when he had a massive heart attack in his car in his driveway. Tom Horn and Chase removed David from his car, started CPR, and until the Soldier Township Fire Department and AMR arrived. Tom and Chase saved David's life that day. Tom and Chase are being recognized for demonstrating availability, boldness, compassion, dependability, and responsibility. So demonstrating those characters, availability, boldness, compassion, dependability, and responsibility makes Chase Morstorff a champion of character. Chase, I want to thank you for your efforts and stepping up. If you'd like to say a few words, that'd be fine. If not, I want to thank you for coming and your family and want to recognize you for the work that you did and for saving a life here in Topeka, Shawnee County. Double duty here, so this is the agenda for the day. I wanted to also recognize that, say, if you have a nomination for someone who has demonstrated a character, a champion of character for either adults or keys to character for those under 18, we encourage you to call 266-4606 or email Judy at jwilson@safestreets.org. I'm going to put your attention to the Safe Streets minutes. For those of you who are members of Safe Streets Coalition, we have sent those minutes out to you. If you aren't members, would like to have minutes, please contact us at Safe Streets PARS and we will send them to you. And I did describe we had our Zoom meeting last month. And just as an aside, last month we did have Amy Cobb-Hasty, Development Director at Vallejo, talk about the Shawnee County Community Cares Line. That's something that's very helpful in this community for those who are wanting somebody to talk to find out what resources are, and encourage you to call that line if you need to know of someone that would like some help. Okay, program report. I'm just going to give a brief description of some of the things that have gone on since our last meeting. Crestview neighborhood we just had one neighborhood meeting this month, and they did it via Zoom. That was a first time. And what we've done in adapting to our new environment is our staff has contacted over 126 neighborhoods. They were contacted via email, by several phone calls, and we estimate we reached over 2,900 residents in Shawnee County. Of course, we've had no face-to-face presentations this month, but we've been busy with our Facebook pages. As you can see, our Safe Streets Coalition Facebook had 2,985 likes or visits, and we had over 333 visits and emails and calls for services. Presentations, we had a substance abuse task force meeting, and again, prevention and recovery services. We have a different Facebook that gives a lot of prevention, substance abuse prevention information as well. In our Latino community, several presentations were also given via Facebook or Zoom, and over 7,900 people were reached there. Next, I'd like to introduce and have Sergeant Dan Wilson come up to talk about the crime stats in Topeka proper. Thank you.
The first slide we're going to look at is the city violent crime stats. If you're not familiar with the stats, since we've been away from each other for a while, there's the month-to-month difference, and then there's the difference year-to-year difference. So red numbers are up, blue numbers are down. If you see the month-to-month difference, they're pretty even. Difference from last year is also pretty even. Some of these have been, spikes in crime. We had a couple weeks where we had a lot of shootings, a couple homicides, stuff like that. As the weather changes, people, out of school, off work, there's just, more people around each other, more problems. So if you know of any information on any of those, reach out to us. We're here to help you guys, and we need your help also. The second slide here is property crime. Again, red numbers are up, blue are down. Month to month looks really good, especially with the weather change and the time of year we're in. Year to year also looks pretty good. Some of the little stuff on this to be aware of would be, locking up your cars. Don't leave garage door openers in your cars. We had a bunch of burglaries last weekend. They were using garage door openers that were in cars on the street to get into the garages. Lock your interior door if you have an attached garage, just to keep them from getting in anywhere else. Don't leave anything in your car. Guns, we continue. That's like Groundhog Day. We've said that for 2 years. Don't leave guns in your cars. Some of the other things right now to be aware of would be the stimulus checks. If you haven't gotten one and you're expecting one, or a tax refund, stuff like that, be aware of your mail. We've had a few scams with stuff like that going on. And again, like I said, we need your help. Point us in the right direction. If something doesn't look right, or you have a feeling you should call us, call us. That's what we're here for. So all in all, we're doing a good job. It's been a little pressing the last couple weeks, but everybody's coming out of their hibernation after COVID, and like I said, just help yourself, not be a victim. Don't leave stuff in your car. Park in a well-lit area. Do the little things to help yourself. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. And next, I'd like to introduce Deputy Sheriff Abigail Christian, who will be talking about what's going on in the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon. Sheriff Brian Hill is currently working diligently to keep our citizens and community safe during these times. The Sheriff's Office would like to remind our citizens that we fully support First Amendment rights to peacefully assemble and to speak freely on these essential matters. With that being said, criminal activity will not be tolerated or ignored. unlawful activity associated with future events may result in arrests and prosecution. For those that choose to express their opinions in a productive and positive manner, we appreciate you and we stand with you in bringing about positive changes to our nation. We will continue to work closely with all our law enforcement partners to ensure the safety and security of our community. Our highest priority is to keep the people and property of Shawnee County safe. The Sheriff's Office will continue to serve and protect the citizens of our community above all else. Thank you.
I think we appreciate all the efforts our law enforcement have been involved in the last recent days and always throughout the year, so appreciate your help. Each meeting, Safe Streets asks for suggestions for topics of interest, and we take these comments very seriously and plan our topics for our meetings around those suggestions. One of the most recent suggestions was to talk about how has COVID-19 impacted crime and violent crime, what have you. So to speak to that, we've asked Sergeant Joshua Clam from the Crisis Intervention Team to speak about what they are seeing here in Shawnee County and Topeka related to that. Thank you. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'll try to keep this kind of quick since it's pretty hot in here. Sergeant Wilson already kind of covered the crime stats, so I just kind of put real quickly here that you guys can see that the violent crime across the city is down, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, some of our shootings are up, and property crime, kind of like Sergeant Wilson was talking about, are up. There have been questions as how does COVID relate to that, and honestly, we don't know. I mean, that's something that we can't really judge, is has COVID-19 actually affected the crime stats specifically? There's really no way to judge that, and so unfortunately, I don't have a solid answer for you. We were asked about domestics in COVID-19 because of the lockdown and the safer at home orders. Was there a rise in domestics? And the answer is yes, a slight rise. There was 94 reported domestics during March 1st through May 25th in 2020 compared to 2019. Again, is those 94, is that increase due to COVID-19? Again, we have no idea. There's no way to really be able to tell you. There's no statistic that we can keep that can show one way or the other. But there was a slight increase. We were asked kind of how does COVID-19 affecting our community as a whole. I work specifically with individuals with mental health concerns. I also work specifically with our unsheltered and our homeless individuals within Topeka. COVID-19 has actually hit them pretty hard. Not so much as the sickness. I actually don't know a single, especially homeless individual or unsheltered individual that became ill with COVID-19. However, because of the safer at home orders, the lockdown orders, organizations having to be safer and protect their employees, there were a few things that affected the unsheltered and the homeless. One specifically is food insecurities. If you're living in a tent or in a homeless camp and you don't have food readily available, you go to places like the Mission, Let's Help, organizations like that. And those organizations are still handing out food. They're still doing a fantastic job, but they had to alter how they were doing it. And because of that, there were some food insecurities within the camps. Like for example, the Rescue Mission still serves the homeless and unsheltered. They just had to do it differently. They were giving sack lunches and compared to allowing people into their facility to eat dinner, things like that. Let's see. As far as the mental health side, there have been a few instances that I know specifically where individuals with mental health concerns actually were afraid to go get mental health services because of the fear of COVID-19. They didn't want to go into a facility such as Vallejo or Stormont Vale because of the fear of contracting the virus while at the facility itself. So that's kind of a hard boat to be in. They know they need help, but they're too afraid to go get it. So we had to work through a few of those issues as well. I do know know that Vallejo really stepped up during that time and did a fantastic job as far as altering, again, their services. They did a lot of teleconferences with consumers, people who had meetings or had counseling sessions. They were doing them via teleconference instead of just canceling outright since they couldn't have them face-to-face. So altered their procedures, but were able to maintain those services, which I think really helped during this pandemic. As far as law enforcement itself, we here at the Law Enforcement Center, just like everybody else, had to alter a few things, had to modify some of our procedures. We did suspend many programs, which are now coming back online. Just a few of those I have up here. Our volunteers in patrol, we had to completely suspend that program. They weren't allowed to come to the LEC and do any of their volunteer work. We stopped fingerprinting for a short time. Any of the IDs that we produce, including our City of ID program, we had to suspend all of that for, I don't know, approximately 2 months. I am happy to share that the City ID program will become operational again starting next Thursday. Next Thursday here at the Law Enforcement Center. If you need a City ID, just come down, fill out an application between 3 and 6 p.m. starting next Thursday. Patrol, we also altered some of our procedures as far as patrol goes. So prior to COVID-19, if you called 911, for the most part, law enforcement would come to your house, whether it's for a report call or whatever the call was. We did alter that to reduce the amount of risk to our officers, and not just our officers, but other first responders. If it was a past crime, a past report crime, let's say someone did break into your car during this time, we were not sending officers to your house to take that report. What we did is we opened up additional phone lines and phone banks and report lines. And so we still took those reports, we just did it over the phone instead of sending officers out. And that was, again, just to reduce the amount of face-to-face time officers were having while out on the street. If you called it having a medical, for example, and you had potential COVID symptoms, the only individuals that were sent to those calls were AMR themselves. Before, it's AMR and fire to almost every medical, and then PD upon request. Fire was not being dispatched because, again, we were trying to limit that amount of exposure, things of that nature. As far as how has COVID-19 affected our police officers specifically, it's kind of hard to tell. The stress of working every day in the middle of a pandemic, I mean, that's real. All of our officers had to experience that, had to work through it, not only here at work and working through with the community on that same topic, but also at home. Majority of our officers have families. It's a major concern, as a major concern of mine, that, you know, if I come in contact with a positive COVID-19 patient, could I potentially take that back home and give it to my wife and my kids? Okay, that was a real fear. I can tell you personally, I had a camper set up in my driveway for months, and that was going to be my quarantine center in the event that I, had any symptoms or contracted COVID-19. All of our officers had to come up with some type of personal plan for them and their family to keep everybody safe. So that was a bit stressful. However, we have a job to do. We were out there working through everything we had to, helping our community, working through this pandemic, and that's what we did without hesitation. We did provide all the PPE or personal protective equipment available to us, to all of our officers. That was everything from an N95 mask or rated above, full Kyvex suits, which is like, if you think of, I don't know, if you see photos of individuals going into meth labs, you see those big white suits, that's a Kyvex suit. So if I needed to, I have access to a full Kyvex suit. I can put that on if I had to. Masks, face shields, surgical gowns, everything we could do to protect our officers and keep them from coming into direct contact with the virus itself. That was all available to our officers. On top of that, through the direction of Chief Cochran and Sheriff Hill, we also created a unit or a team, if you will, called the Health and Safety Support Team. Those teams were TPD, Shawnee Sheriff, Washburn University Police. We came together, we had some additional training on COVID-19. We had some additional training on how to stay safe, especially with PPE. And in the event that law enforcement had to come into contact with someone we knew was a positive COVID-19 case, then this team was the one that was called up to go handle that. Again, we had all of the PPE gear, we had some additional training, and we would actually go out and make face-to-face contact with some COVID-19 patients. That we never had to do anything on enforcement side. It was used on occasion in to just notify some individuals. They went to a testing center, they tested positive for COVID-19, but for whatever reason, the health department was having a hard time contacting them directly. The HSS team would go out, make contact with that individual, and just notify them, hey, they needed to contact the health department due to their positive test. So overall, it worked out really, really well. That's kind of it. I talked all the way through that last slide. Does anybody have any questions or anything? I think the only question I saw on email was there any statistic about first-time offenders maybe feeling desperate due to the lockdown order or safer-at-home order, and that resulted in their criminal behavior. And kind of like we talked about before, there's no way to know that. There's no way to be able to judge that type of statistic or gather that statistic. So I appreciate your time and appreciate you letting me talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. It's taken a lot of people's efforts to do a lot to keep us all safe, and I appreciate all the efforts of law enforcement and all the workers around the community that are there day and night to help us. First of all, I want to thank all of you that are watching this live stream. You should have received via email, if you're on our Safe Streets Coalition list, a survey to complete, and we really wish that you would complete that. That helps us give some feedback on what we can do better. If you'd like to have meetings via the live stream as we've done today, via Zoom, we're willing to adapt as we need to. If you've not received an evaluation, please send your request to info@parstopeka.com. And I also just want to shout out to the fact that we are not going to be having National Night Out in August. I wanted to let people know that. It is rescheduled for October 10th, and all those who have been involved should have been already informed about that. If you are interested in having a National Night Out event of some type, and we know all of this is kind of subject to how things are in October, but please call our office or, again, contact Judy Wilson at safestreets.org. I want to thank you again for participating and hope that you all stay safe and stay healthy, and look forward to meeting with you whichever way next month. Thanks so much.